what's going on, FPL managers? Welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's a Game Week 29 video, but we're hardly halfway through the Game Week 28 game week. And yeah, lots to go, but we're going to focus on how to get through Game Week 29. There's double game week again, and I'm joined by Gianni. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Yeah, I was very happy to come on this Monday morning stream, Monday lunchtime stream, knowing I'm on a decent game week so far. I think if I'd been on a big red arrow, you might have got a no.
Always makes a difference. You know, I think what people really like watching streams when we actually do badly, but it also feel a bit awkward, like doing well sometimes, and like be able to gloat about it. But we'll try not to be too smug this stream. But yeah, we've both had pretty good game weeks. A lot of variance from pretty marginal decisions this week, Gianni, but we're not complaining about it. Let's start with your team straight off the bat. Actually, no. Before that, we're going to do SoRare. This is something that Fantasy Football Scouts partnered up with. These are cards that you can collect, and they're like NFTs, so there's only a certain amount actually in the marketplace, so they're worth something. We are partnered with SoRare Academy, which gets you into that sort of stuff, collecting cards. It's completely free to play, and you just pick 5 players from the top 5 European leagues, and you compete against other people in a typical fantasy week. If they score points and you do well, you get rewarded with these SoRare cards. And then with those SoRare cards, you can play the main game, play against other people in tournaments with your own players, and win some prizes potentially. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, check out SoRare Academy. Completely free to play game. Pick 5 players from any of the top leagues in any given week, and yeah, play. You know, it's a sort of a fantasy game, so should be pretty in line with what we're all pretty keen on already. But yes, let's get into our teams. Gianni, 77 this week already, mate. So that's an 81 with a -4, and some pretty inspired transfers. Havertz captain, what an absolute call that is, and a Reece James transfer in. So talk us through it.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Yeah, it's been a good week so far. I just felt those Chelsea fixtures were too good to miss, right? I mean, if Chelsea had played in that blank game week 30, you could just imagine all of those players would have just gone up really, really steep price rises, the lot, ownership. But as it was, the transfers in, yeah, sure, Reece James and Rudiger got the love we expected, but the likes of Havertz were probably underlooked a little bit because they don't have that 30 coverage. But, you know, you forget past results with Havertz and just go, let's have a look at the last couple of games. And he's been Chelsea's go-to. He's been Chelsea's best player in the Club World Cup. He has been starting number 9. And he plays Norwich and Burnley. So it was just like, yeah, let's give him a go. And I've been stung by Havertz in the week we all remember when Salah went and got his 24 points.
What vindication this week. It's poetry, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is. And do you know what? We often don't go near players when we've been punished by them. We go, oh, that player hasn't done well for me, or we like this player because he's done well for me. And sometimes we just have to take a step back and go, come on. We're talking like that player's performance is going to, they don't know you own them. It doesn't matter if you've been punished or rewarded by that player. This is a completely new decision you're faced with each and every time. And I think that's what I faced on Saturday morning, where I just went, I could bring Havertz in for a 4-point hit here. And the only thing holding me back is previous experience. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. Oh, no, forget that. I'm buying him because I think in this particular week, it's the right call. And yeah, I always knew I was going to be bringing him in for captaincy. Like, it was either don't bring him in at all, or if you do bring him in, you have to captain him, because he was my tip all week. It was, if you can get to Havertz, you can captain Havertz, do that. So yeah, I was really happy. I mean, saying that, it was a good decision. Wasn't an amazing one. Reece James captain as Ted. That absolutely laughing. Fair play, because I was tipping James to start both games, but I wasn't willing to give him the armband just with that fear. And now he looks absolutely nailed for both, doesn't he?
He does. He looks good. I mean, he's taken off 70-minute mark. So I mean, the question, yeah, absolutely perfect. The question about him playing both looks really promising for people that brought him in. But it was such a marginal call for me, Gianni. Like, we'll get onto my team in a minute, but it was such a marginal call, and such incredible gains over Robertson, who I transferred him out for, is just it's an absolute dream for people that have done it, but it's an absolute kick in the teeth for people that haven't. And I was definitely on the fence before the deadline. So, I've got to count myself pretty lucky in terms of that situational luck. But for you, who was absolutely set on bringing in James and Havertz from the start, always trust you with my Chelsea news. Always remember the time where you were like, yeah, Alonso's going to get dropped this game week. And who was it? Chilwell was going to come back after not playing for a very long time. And you're absolutely spot on. So, yeah, definitely.
How do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. All the Chelsea stuff, you're pretty spot on with. So credit to you for that. But yeah, a pretty good team. And you're not even bench boosting or triple captaining this week.
I felt like if I got a green this week, I'd have done really well because I saw the amount of chips engaged. There was a few wild carders, there was a few free hitters, but there was a lot of bench boosters, especially around my rank. So I just thought if this could be a week where I get a grey arrow, I'll probably be happy going into it. But now I look well set for a green, and so much can change with so many games. But I think I'm going to finish on a decent green. So yeah, it worked out well. I also bought in Rafinha, who a lot bought into captain, and I didn't want to have to sell Phil Foden. I've had Phil Foden since game week 7, Ted, way too long, arguably. And Rafinha coming in, I was pretty set on. And actually, Rafinha captain is really unlucky. Like his XG over the game was over 1, wasn't it? And he missed from 3 yards out, but
it's a good move. It's a really good move. Obviously, in retrospect, Foden had his chances, of course, at the weekend, but I think Leeds have got Norwich next after Aston Villa, and I think that's an incredible fixture for Rafinha. So obviously they play in 30 as well, but I don't know whether are you free hitting in 30?
Well, that's the thing. I was set on not on going with 8 or 9 players. But this week, as my last-minute transfer, Havertz came in for Bowen, who I knew was one of these guys who was going to be playing for me in game week 30. Now, Bowen might not be around in game week 30, so again, I got lucky. But I was only benching Bowen anyway. You'll notice I've got Luca Dean on the bench. It was Dean in my 11, Bowen on my bench, Havertz wasn't in the team. So that scenario played out so well for me. But now it does mean I'll have 1 fewer players for game week 30. So I could go into game week 30 with 7 players, could be 8. And I just don't think that justifies the free hit. So I don't think I will be, no.
Okay.
I think I'll survive. It might mean I need to take a hit for a Leicester player, but I have a lot of the main bases covered. Rafinha and Kane, as well as Leicester attack, will be the 3 main bases to cover. Oh, and Arsenal attack, I've got that with Saka. So I think other than Leicester, I will have those fixtures quite well covered with 8 players. Yeah. I have got 2 free hits, though. I've got to use them at some point.
I think that Spurs additional fixture does make game week 30 slightly more tempting to free hit. You could go Vardy, Maddison, Leicester defender, Kane, Son, Spurs defender, Lacazette, Saka, whoever. So there is upside to it, but I think we can also get through it without too much commitment. So yeah, absolutely. I think your team looks absolutely fantastic, and you got 7 players to play the rest of the game week. So plenty of green arrows to come, I imagine. Let's move on to mine. Let's move on to mine. 96 without any hits and a pretty decent bench boost. I guess you could argue that quite a lot of the 1 and 0 pointers in my starting 11 could have been on the bench, and therefore that success is probably a little bit lessened. But I mean, regardless, 96 points already is absolutely fantastic. Arsenal really helped me out yesterday. Yeah. And Captain James came through. So a pretty fortunate game week for me. And it's just propelled me from 30k into the top 10k for the first time in the season. I'm absolutely thrilled to bits.
Were you around 30, Ted? So you've had around a 20k green arrow and then some. That's amazing. And some bench boost, 96. What I loved about your bench boost was you weren't relying on Arsenal defence. Like many of the bench boosters were relying on Ramsdale and Tierney or Ramsdale and White. And you actually had double Arsenal attack rather than double Arsenal defence. And the attack both delivered big for you. So yeah, really nice play there.
Mate, I was so smug when it happened, but I really can't take too much credit. And this is like the situational luck thing I talk all the time. The only reason I have double Arsenal attack is because Sam Maximan got injured before the game week 26 deadline, which means I had to switch up an Arsenal defender who I was advocating on the FPL show. It's like, everyone, you need to get double Arsenal attack because Arsenal's defence. Double Arsenal defence because Arsenal's defence is absolutely fantastic. So if I had, if Alan Maximan hadn't been notified that he was injured before that deadline, I would be far worse off. this is the situational luck that you talk about. You have to mix it up because you have to deal with other problems. And
Yeah.
if Reece James, it was such a marginal call. I just kind of thought, I don't know whether you should like reel yourself back in to be humble from this and say it was a bit lucky that I made these decisions, or reward yourself for making these decisions. I really don't know.
That one.
Yeah.
What I'd say though, Ted, is you're right. Like, fair play. You've gone back to the St. Max thing and you look at the Reece James 50-50. But I guarantee earlier in the season, you were on the wrong end of some of those 50-50s.
Yeah,
It does. I genuinely am a believer of it balancing out. And I know people say there's so much variance stuff, but I just feel over a 10-month season, and we don't make 38 decisions each week, one per game week. We make dozens of decisions each game week, whether it's who we're benching, who we're buying, whatever. Do we go up double Arsenal attack or defense? I feel like there's hundreds, thousands of decisions each season, and over the course of 1,000 decisions, surely the luck balances. So yeah, sure, you've got lucky this week, Ted. I guarantee you were unlucky a month ago or 2 months ago, and you pat yourself on the back. Good shouts. That's how I see it.
Well, yeah, I think I've got to look at it with a glass half full, haven't I? But yeah, excited. 10 players to go as well. 96 could be a monster score this week. Fingers crossed for, even more of a green arrow. That would be absolutely insane. So yeah, really, really buzzing at the moment. And yeah, excited for the Spurs match tonight. Son to go, and you've got Kane, haven't you? So yeah,
Kane tonight, which I'm really excited about. I'm not going to lie, I'm expecting points tonight from Kane. I just feel like he's so red hot at the moment.
Yeah, I would definitely choose Kane if it was just a toss up between one of two players. I like that Son enables the rest of my squad, but yeah, I think Kane is just on fire at the moment. But yeah, let's move on from our teams. Enough of the smugness. Love it though. Yeah, it's going to be a shorter stream today, just about 45 minutes. So we will try and rattle through all of the key points for Game Week 29. So I've got a chart up here, which is all of the Game Week 29 fixtures. And you'll see that some teams have 2 fixtures. That's because they have a double game week. So you've got Liverpool on the right-hand side against Brighton and Arsenal. And the way I've constructed it is the XG for that team is across the bottom. So further to the right, the teams have loads of XG. Liverpool, the best. Norwich, the worst. And then the opponents they're playing in 29, the XG conceded, the higher that team is, the worse their opponents are. So you've got Leeds against Norwich as being the best fixture for Norwich being the worst for XG conceded. So we can expect Rafinha goals in that one probably. Whereas maybe Arsenal against Liverpool, Brighton against Liverpool, Palace against City at the bottom there. Those are quite difficult fixtures in terms of their defensive opponents. So yeah, top right is what I would say is the best fixture. Man United, Spurs, maybe some goals there. But I mean, thinking about it objectively, I'm not 100% sure that Spurs would lose to Man United. So it's an interesting one. A few things to point out, Gianni. Newcastle, so Everton versus Newcastle, Chelsea versus Newcastle at the bottom left there. Mm-hmm. Newcastle's defensive stats are absolutely fantastic. Like 4th or 5th best in the entire league. What's happened to them?
Dan Burn. Dan Burn has happened, and Lascelles has been dropped, who's at times looks like a championship defender and was very good in the championship. But Dan Burn next to Cher looks like a nice partnership. And then at right back, they've been playing Kraft, who can play centre back too, so it's a bit more solid. Matt Targett's played really well. He's come in. I just think the business they did in the window where they bought Trippier in at right back, they brought Target in at left back on loan and Burn centre back. 3 out of their starting back 4. Now we know Trippier's out injured, but 3 of the 4 are new players, right? And I just think it's massively, massively helped them. And they've also got a bit of confidence. Like playing at St. James's Park is now a nice place to play, and it's absolutely rocking. And actually horrible for visiting teams to go there now, because the atmosphere, when it's up, it's really up. But when it's down, and it's been down for a long time, and I'm talking years here, it's actually a nice place to go and play, because the crowd will get on the team. 52,000 fans will jump on Newcastle when they go 1-0 down. So I feel like there's just a feel-good factor and the transfer business. And Eddie Howe's done a great job.
Yeah, it's actually really surprising how well he's done. in terms of the defensive solidity, I always thought he was going to improve the attack like he did at Bournemouth, but Bournemouth were never solid at the back. So the fact that he's done that at Newcastle is exceptional. So yeah, their fixtures, Newcastle playing Chelsea and Everton. Do we see any clean sheets in there for the Newcastle defence? Or do you think Chelsea are going to stroll it easily? And
I'd run a mile from Newcastle defence this week. And I know that sounds ridiculous on current form, but Everton's next 3 games, and I include the next game in Gameweek 28, and then the 2 and 29, all 3 are away games. And I just feel Everton at St James's Park are going to be so much stronger. We also know Everton and Chelsea at home, especially Everton at home. Under Lampard, they've won all their home games and lost all their away. Those 2 teams at home, I think, turn up. So I don't see clean sheets for Newcastle there. I think Newcastle could score in either fixture, to be fair, because their attack looks good too. But yeah, I'd veer away from the defence.
Yeah, I think it's the attack that we need to focus on. If you want a free hit or a wild card this week and you want to target Newcastle, I think it probably is the attack, even though their defensive stats are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think well summed up there. But yeah, talking about Liverpool and Man City, we've got, I mean, for people who haven't played their triple captain, like myself.
Me? You haven't played it either?
Oh, you haven't? Oh, interesting. Like, are we both going to triple captain Salah this week?
My plan was to, but I'm not impressed by Liverpool at the moment, and I'm not impressed by Salah at the moment. But it feels like the best opportunity we're going to get still, because the other doubles we're going to get, sure, there might be some nice fixtures for Man City, Spurs or Liverpool. 1, I don't know if it's this good. And 2, I might want to use those as free hit weeks. Probably will want to use them as free hit weeks. So I don't want to cut my nose off to spite my face and ignore this opportunity, knowing 33, 36 are probably free hit weeks for me.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ted, what's your take? I mean, are you going to go there? Seeing him subbed off was a good thing because it meant he's rested for Inter. But if they don't play well against Inter, or he doesn't look good against Inter, I'm going to be a bit worried.
For me, it's absolutely locked in. No question. It's Salah at the end of the day. He doesn't really go through form spells. He
doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a flippant statement to make because, yes, of course, he does go through spells of not scoring. But I think those spells are just the fact that he's missed a one-on-one. He's still getting all of those chances. He still has the capacity and the ability to score those chances. You sort of have to just make sure the luck goes his way a little bit and make sure that the keeper has got his arm here rather than here or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So I think Brighton and Arsenal are pretty defensively solid, but Liverpool are just, their XG is absolutely fantastic at the moment. And when I watch them, they could score 3 or 4 goals in any game. So no question for me. I think all of the players around him, especially Luis Diaz, has been a breath of fresh air and sort of enables Salah as well. So, and the fullbacks are just, Robertson and Trent are both so in form at the moment.
And wide forwards, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Next season, I don't think we're going to have to see price categories changing for those fullbacks. But Ted, I'm surprised by this chart with Liverpool Brighton. Like, obviously, I expected Liverpool to be far right with the XG. I did think the expected goals conceded of the opponents. Sure, I expected Liverpool Arsenal to be bottom right because Arsenal defence has been good. But Brighton in the last 6 weeks have been conceding goals for fun, but maybe they haven't been conceding chances for fun because I expected Liverpool Brighton to be more top, sort of halfway up at least on the right, but it's lower than I thought, which again is like, triple captain.
Definitely.
I mean, they've not been good, Brighton.
Definitely one thing to caveat is that these stats are definitely going to be skewed by the opponents that they've faced in the last 6 matches. And Brighton maybe have faced, easier opponents and therefore maybe not conceded too many or too much XG. So it could be a little bit skewed. Could be a glass, seeing these stats through rose-tinted spectacles sort of thing. But I mean, regardless of the stats, I think we can just, it's Salah in a double game week, regardless of who it was. Even if they were playing City and United, I still would expect him to get a couple of goals here and there. He's on penalties. I mean, he scored 2 penalties against Leeds. That could happen in any match, for example. He didn't score open play goals.
I know. So, you're right. I'm very likely to go there. And it's more not necessarily really believing in Mo. It's more the use of the other chips around the other doubles. Guys, I just want to have a little shout out. There's 421 people watching right now. That's awesome. But only 30 of you have liked it. Now, I've got a poster here that I really want to show you guys, but I don't think you can see it if I leave it there. I will show you all the poster full screen, and trust me, you want to see this poster if we get to 100 likes. So Come on, get liking, team. Get liking.
Love it. Love the plugs. There we go. Yeah, let's talk about City. They're up against Crystal Palace, who have actually been really decent in the recent weeks since. Well, basically ever since Vieira took over. Their XG conceded is really good, like in the top, 6 or 7 teams for XG conceded. That is going to be a tougher fixture than maybe on paper, Gianni.
I think it might be. I've got Elise in my team, and whilst they don't have doubles and they don't play in the blank, I don't want to sell him because every time I watch Palace play, I'm impressed. And I'm impressed with Elise. And I just think that the only fear with Palace this season now is that they're going to become one of those beach teams. And we often refer to beach teams around game week 32 onwards, where we go, oh, there's not much there for them. Because they're not going to make Europe. They're not going to get relegated. They're going to be comfortable. But I do think Palace on their day can be dangerous against anyone.
Love it. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not sure Man City attackers or midfielders or whoever are that prevalent in our FPL sides at the moment. I think probably the only player that we tend to own is Cancelo if you do own him. So yeah, maybe City keep a clean sheet there. But yeah, I don't think it's a pressing factor at the moment. But yeah. Another thing to talk about is, quite a lot of us have loaded up on Wolves' defence. Well,
yeah.
Everton play Wolves in their double game week, and that top left fixture there in the blue, Wolves have conceded the third highest amount of XG in the last 6 matches, which is just crazy. I always thought that they were really defensively solid, but clearly they've been letting it slip recently.
Yeah, I mean, you bought in 2 on your wild card, I guess. The week everyone wild carded, I bought in a Wolves defender. We've not had a clean sheet yet. In fact, I don't think we've had 2 points. There's 1 point every week, isn't it? For Kilman or Site or Cody. So yeah, frustrating that. And as soon as that game week 30 goes, I'll probably be selling my Wolves assets.
Yeah, I'm really looking to getting rid of Wolves. It's annoying that they play in 30, but I mean,
you'd be getting rid of them. You'd be getting rid of them now if they weren't playing in 30, wouldn't you? I would.
Exactly, and it's who to get rid of first, Luca Dean or Wolves. It's
yeah, because Villa's fixtures after 30, they're not pretty either. So yeah, we've got to 100 likes, Ed. So Ted, sorry, Ted. Ted. No. The reason I did this was someone's just written in the chat. It's a portrait of Ed in the picture, and John Cahill. It's not a portrait of Ed, and someone has got it. And I know many won't like this, but there'll be a few that do enjoy this poster. It is Chiellini putting back Saka, and it's going to take a very proud position on my wall when I buy a frame for it.
Goodness me!
Sorry, guys, I had to show it.
Unbelievable. Right.
Tactical foul. Nothing wrong with that.
Is there an unlike button on the video? We should get on that immediately. No, it's a really interesting one. I think just regardless of looking at this chart, like my transfer moves, I'm thinking about bringing in Spurs guys. Do we like Kulusevski? Do we want to double up with Son and Kane? Do we want a Spurs defender like Doherty, who's actually been fairly attacking recently? Not sure in his minutes, but against Man United and Brighton, they're not the worst set of fixtures, Gianni. Are you going to be looking to bring in any Spurs assets?
Yeah, my planned move, Ted, was Havertz out. Havertz was only meant to be a 1-week punt. It was Havertz out to Kulusevski. I didn't expect Havertz to look quite so good. And let's see how he plays against Norwich. So I definitely want that double Spurs attack for not only 29, but the blank 30. West Ham at home. For me, with West Ham playing in Europe and Spurs having their midweeks off, I quite like that Spurs attack moving forward. And look, no team is comfortably reaching Son and Kane. And whilst Kulusevski can't cover Son's points, he can get you some decent points. And he's sure in a starter now. Let's see how he plays tonight. Of course, we're going to be eye testing him tonight. But yeah, for me, double Spurs attack is on. The wing backs are hard because only takes one bad game for Doherty or Sessegnon or Reguilon or Emerson, and then they're rotated. And Conte has got a history of rotating fullbacks if he's not happy with them. So again, like I probably don't go there and would go safe. If I wanted Spurs defence, I'd just go Dyer or Romero or Davies for safety. And loads in the chat saying dislike and unsubscribed. Brilliant, guys. Thank you for the interaction. Flapjack's in the chat said he removed his like. Oh, I'm so glad Flapjack's seen that, because if anyone disliked that poster, it was going to be him.
Love it.
So yeah, I like Spurs double attack. And I'm very likely going to have it.
Yeah, I'm very tempted as well. It also enables me to bring back Robertson for Luka Dean, so it does enable me. So, but I mean, Coutinho, it would have to be for Coutinho if I bought into Kulusevski, and he's pretty decent at the moment. The only thing is his fixtures. He's got West Ham this week, he's got Arsenal in 30, and then some even worse fixtures going forward. So it's probably a long-term move anyway, but yeah, definitely eyeing that up. Anyone else to talk about on this chart? Probably not. I mean, Leeds against Norwich, you're only eyeing up Rafinha. If you want a left field pick, go like Dan James or someone, but I'm not sure that's a very good long-term move. Southampton Watford's not a bad fixture, and we've got Breuer in our teams more so than not. Some Ward-Prowse, some Adams, but yeah, he's been out of form recently, but heavily owned because of his price. Gianni, how do you see his potential for Watford?
Yeah, in the Premier League, he's not. Southampton forwards. Shea Adams has just been the one, hasn't he? But Breuer in the FA Cup, when he came on against West Ham last week at 45 minutes for Shane Long, he absolutely turned it on. He got an assist and an awesome goal, the third goal to kill off the tie. So he has looked sharp in glimpses. I was really disappointed by Southampton at Villa. I didn't see that result coming at all, to the point where I didn't even consider Coutinho. Like I thought Villa looked poor, but going into that fixture, I thought Southampton looked brilliant. So for Villa to do what they did, fair play. I just hope that was a one-off for Southampton, because that Watford game at home is where we should be seeing Breuer points finally.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Southampton. Like quite a lot of people, quite a lot of mates are Saints fans, and they always are so frustrated with their erratic results. They'll put like a really decent performance against Man City. And they'll have like Salisu will have like man of the match performance, and then they'll go away to Norwich or something like that and lose, or do something strange, or lose 4-1 to Villa. So, it's one of those things. They're not a top 4 team because of that, if anything. So you're going to have to expect that erratic nature of results. But I mean, there are still a really strong outfit like Brighton to a certain extent, very equivalent. But yeah, I think Breuer is definitely going to stay in our teams because of his price, and I think he's such a talent anyway. Hopefully, he can get a run of games together with goals. So, yeah, Watford is probably one of those fixtures that he can do it.
If he can't do it against Watford, then you've got a question like, should you be in your 11? Like, the moment he's in all of our squads, but we're playing him every week. I'm not benching Breuer ever, but at some point I'm going to start needing to bench him and give others a go in the 11. If he doesn't turn it on against Watford, you think, okay, maybe he's first sub.
Yeah, exactly. The same thought passed through my head when I was tinkering earlier. He's probably going to become a first bench option in the next few weeks after, I think he plays Leeds in 31, so that's a pretty good fixture for him. But yeah, after that, probably first bench. But let's move on from this chart and look actually at the double game week players themselves, just limited to the six teams that double. But actually, Brighton didn't actually appear on any of the attacking top 20, top 30 lists. So that's probably news enough to say stay away from Brighton attacking wise. They've got a really difficult double as well. Again, I think is it Arsenal and Liverpool they're playing, or Arsenal and Man U? I can't remember, but it's a really.
It's a threat of rotation as well, though, Ted. Like, even if their numbers were good, I wouldn't know what player to buy. Mopé was dropped the weekend. He played Welbeck as the 9. Trossard in the last double, I think Trossard only played one of the games, or maybe was benched for both of them. Like, Moda looks the safest bet for starts, but even he's not absolutely nailed. Like, I don't know who to pick in that Brighton team other than the defenders. And you go Lamptey for the upside, but then you worry about his fitness. They're just not a good FPL team. Brighton, they're in there at times. They're a good football team, but it's very rare. This season we've been absolutely like nailed for points with them, other than perhaps some of the centre backs every now and then. Yeah, it's been disappointing with Brighton because of the rotation.
in previous seasons they've made a name for themselves in terms of getting like a lot of
Duffy.
stats. Yeah, exactly. But pretty decent, like lots of stats, lots of defensive solidity, but they would always underperform. They wouldn't score as many goals as would be expected, and they'd always concede more. I think they're skulking back into that trend now at the end of the season, because beforehand I think they were arguably one of the better sides in the league. So it's a shame that they're regressing back to that. But probably the highlight is stay away from Brighton on this. So we've got Liverpool, we've got Spurs, we've got Arsenal, Newcastle and Everton there. The headline is Salah top right, loads of big attempts, loads of small attempts, triple captain nailed on for me. But Mane's been in better form than him recently in the last 6 game weeks. It's always a sort of flippant question asking someone, do you think Mane's a better choice than Salah? Because he kind of isn't, but he's certainly in better form recently, Gianni.
Yeah, and he's playing as the number 9, which is useful. I think as he's started playing as the number 9, we've seen Diaz left, Salah right. Mane 9 is getting more chances than Mane out on the left. What I would say about that, though, is EFL Cup final, big game. Who does he sub off when he needs to bring? I think it was Jota coming on. He didn't sub new boy Diaz off. He subbed Mane off. And Mane threw a paddy. He wasn't happy. And I look at it and just think, are we going to see a little bit of Mane rotation? He's got to keep his performance sky high, because Diaz has come in and made that, at the moment, from what we've seen, Diaz has become part of that front 3. Like, Diaz is first choice now, playing on the left role, which means Mane 9, which is fine. But Jota's going to be breathing down his neck. Firmino will be too. And of course, Mane will go to the left sometimes. But we know Salah is absolutely a banker for starting every game that matters. Mane, Jota, Diaz, there's 2 spots there for 3 players. And at the moment, Mane looks like he's probably second after Diaz first and Jota third. But that will change.
Yeah, it's really difficult minefield. It's at risk of turning into a City rotation.
It is.
Front 5, front 6. But I mean, from my perception, I watch all the Liverpool games. Diaz he looks so talented.
Amazing.
It's difficult for Jota to come back in after he's been in such form. Like, he's such a goal poacher. But the problem is, I think Klopp can rotate depending on the opponent. Whether he needs a goal poacher, he'll play Jota. Whether he needs someone who's better at ball progression, better at skillful like a Mane on that left wing, he'll play Diaz and play Mane in the centre. And that's a scary front 3. So I think Diaz and Jota both aren't long-term FPL options just because of that rotation risk. And as you said earlier, Gianni, you could argue the same for Mane. So Salah, Trent and Robertson are the ones for me. We've got Trent and Robertson down there in that pack, just below Son and Kane. I mean, this doesn't even include there's clean sheet potential. That's absolutely insane numbers from those guys, which is kind of why I'm thinking about taking a hit to get Robertson back in for this double game week, and having Salah, Trent and Robertson as the front.
Is this 3 from the last how many games, this chart? Is it 6 games, like last one?
Last 6 game weeks, which is adjusted per appearance. So that might be, I think, 7 or 8 games, depending on if people have had double game weeks, or it could be 3 or 4 if they've had blanks. So it's on the same comparable basis on a per appearance. So it should be fine. But
in 5 weeks' time, when we see this chart again, I reckon Reece James will be in and amongst Trent and Robbo. Like, it'll be interesting to see where the Chelsea fullbacks, or even if Reece James goes above Trent and Robbo. But yeah, again, like, you look at James, you look at Trent, and now you can have to consider Robbo in the same sentence, as the upside's huge, as well as the 6-point clean sheets.
Yeah, absolutely. I without a doubt, James will be up there. I mean, his attacking prowess is just phenomenal. That Burnley game was incredible. I can't wait to see what he can do against Norwich. But yes, something to definitely note here is that if you aren't free hitting in 30, you kind of need to prioritise the Spurs and the Arsenal guys, because they double in 29 and then have a fixture in 30. So we've got Son and Kane there, and then Doherty and Kulusevski. Kulusevski's stats aren't actually that great compared to the other players, but in a 1-game basis, in a 2-game basis, anything could sort of happen. He might get the odd assist here, playing in that front 3 with Son and Kane. And then we've got the Arsenal guys in the bottom right. Lacazette. It's really weird, because I'm a Lacazette owner, but I don't feel like he's earning his points. He's just sort of getting the, like a odd assist with a flick here and there. And that's great and everything, but is that likely to continue over the next few weeks? I'm not so sure.
I tweeted yesterday, Ted, he's the best in the Premier League at what he does, and that is lay it on a plate on the edge of the box with your back to goal and deliver a 5-yard cushioned assist for someone to strike the ball and hit it. And he does that so well. He plays with his back to goal. You can fizz him the ball and he'll lay it back to you on whatever foot you want it with the right pace so you can go stick it top bins. And he does that so much. He gets these 5-yard assists with his back to goal time and again. He's not in that team to score goals. And he's very good at it. He's Bobby Firmino style, but probably a bit more of a focal point in the box. And yeah, he gets you points because those 3-point assists tick away nicely.
I mean, it helps having such talented players around him who can score those 20-yard screamers. I mean, this is just emphasised on the chart. If you look at the numbers in the bubbles for all of the Arsenal players, the one on the top, that's the big returns. Hardly any big returns for any of those Arsenal players. The small returns, which mean the returns that all players have got from difficult efforts, 0.8 small returns per game for Lacazette. That's insane. Saka's 0.6. Odegaard and Martinelli, slightly less, but all small returns, all difficult efforts. And it just shows that they've got that ability, especially Saka, to score goals from the edge of the box. And Lacazette is just helping by setting them up for them. So incredible stuff. No big returns really for Arsenal players, but if they can score screamers every week, that's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, you kind of want the big returns in these games, especially when you're focusing on 1 weeks. And Kane and Son are absolutely fantastic for that. And we talked about Kane and Son earlier. You've got Kane, I've got Son as that sort of enabler to, is it 1.5 million I'm saving with Son that I can spread around the team?
About that.
Would you be tempted to double up?
No, just too much money. It's just too much money combined. If you're buying Kane and Son, that's 25% of your budget of a 15-man squad. Now, look, in years gone by, sure, we've doubled up on Kane and Son, but that might be when other FPL assets from other teams, other premiums aren't delivering. But if you go Kane and Son, and look, every team has Salah, you can't have much else. You certainly can't have big at the back. And at the moment, you want Reece and Trent, and possibly Robbo. You want a forward in the ideally, should a 7 million forward start banging, you want to be able to go there. And yeah, sure, we've not had that of late, but that will come. It just limits you too much. Trust me, I've tried. I love squeezing in an extra premium when you can. But I just think knowing we have Kulusevski as an option and he's only 6 million, it's very easy just to go, you have one of them plus Kulusevski if you want double attack. And look, Kulusevski's numbers aren't as high here, but remember, going back to the last 6 game weeks, the first few of those, he was probably coming off the bench. He hadn't cemented a place in the 11. If you go off the last couple of game weeks, he'd probably be slightly closer to Son. I don't know.
I mean, the numbers inside his bubble, 0.4 big returns per appearance, 0.4 small returns per appearance. He's in form. Yeah. Can't deny that. It's just he's getting slightly fewer chances than Son and Kane. If he's around all of the action, he's going to get points. And I am very tempted to bring him in as well, even though maybe he doesn't compare as well to even like the Newcastle guys or the Everton guys, which is a good segue into talking about those guys. Do any of those appeal to you? I know I think Everton are due to have a few double game weeks after 30. So I would maybe side over a longer period with bringing in someone like Anthony Gordon, who's 4.5 million and pretty decent. Is he sort of entered your thoughts, Gianni?
Absolutely. He's the only one on this chart that has. It is Gordon. And there's a couple of reasons why. Yeah, they're owed fixtures, and I don't have a wild card. And because I don't have a wild card, I know I need a 4.5-ish midfielder in my squad. I need an enabler in there because at the moment I don't have one. My cheapest midfielder is Elise at 5.3, 5.4. Can save money by having a 4.5 bench option that plays when he's got good fixtures. And one thing we know about Frank Lampard teams is they will score buckets of goals, especially at home. They will concede lots of goals, but this is a team with a lot to play for. And at this point in the season, I'm buying players with something to play for. And I know if I'm going down the bottom of the table, it needs to be those teams that aren't dead and buried, like Norwich and Watford, but the teams that are in and around that I think will still survive and get points. Likewise, teams like Arsenal and Spurs that I think have a really good chance of getting top 4 that aren't out of the race, like Wolves, for example. So Gordon ticks the box, and he's cheap, and he's playing in the front three. Also, he's on set pieces, Ted. Like, this is a kid at 4.5 million who's 19 years old. And he's given the responsibility of corners and free kicks, and he's got a very good delivery on his left foot. So yeah, Gordon, I don't think I can get him in for this double because I don't know if he's worth the hit. And if he is, I think I'd have a benching dilemma. If I bought in another doubler, I'd be benching a really good player on a single game week like a Breuer. So I'm probably going to hold, but he's definitely one I'm monitoring. I just want to make sure with Damari Gray and Andros back fit, Damari Gray especially, knowing Iwobi's been playing so well, I just want to know that he's above the pecking order of Damari Gray to know he's guaranteed starts. Because at the moment, yes, he's been given a huge amount of game time and he's Frank's go-to, but Iwobi's played himself into that 11. And I just wonder if it's Iwobi and Gray long-term or if Gordon is still, nailed. Also, don't forget, Richarlison could be put out wide to cater for Calvert-Lewin, who's been injured. So again, there could be rotation there. I hope Lampard sticks with Gordon, and we're going to find out in the next 2-3 games. After that, if he's still in the 11, guaranteed, I bring him in.
Yeah, I really like his price point, as you said. But yeah, the rotation could be an issue. But at 4.5, if he becomes an out of favour player, he just sits on the bench to a certain extent. As someone who's just bench boosted, I'm kind of looking at ways to downgrade some of the money that I have in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th player. So looking at the likes of Amati at Leicester, 3.8, Gordon, 4.5, some cheaper forwards potentially who there's not many forward options at the moment, is there? But like Richarlison could be a forward option, but also to look at cheaper options, we need that money to start focusing on players like Vardy, who's going to become more of a template forward pick with all of the rearranged fixtures that they have. It's a little bit early to bring him in because I think he's got Arsenal this week, but from game week 30, with where they have Brentford and then the possibility of lots of double game weeks, I'm looking at Vardy for sure. And I need the money, Gianni. I need the money to afford him.
I'm looking at Barnes and Amati in 30. And I think they might be my two. And I might even have to sell Luca Dean, who has a fixture. I might be selling one game week 30 player for another, but just go, Luca Dean, you've got a tough fixture. Amati, you've got a better one. And also, I don't have a bench boost left, and I need to thin the squad, and I don't have a wild card. It's time to start doing, as you said, change those 13, 14, 15-man spots to cheaper options to give me more money in my 11.
Yeah, definitely sensible. Marty's definitely a gift if he can keep his place. So yeah, it seems like a sensible option to me. Right, let's finish up on the stats and have a look how we're set up for game week 29. We'll start with you, Gianni. A nice looking 3-4-3 here. That really envious of that. Cancelo, Alexander-Arnold, James, back three. Well, it's only really Cancelo that sets the difference. But yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double game weeks players in 29. Presumably that increases with your transfers?
Yeah, I'm only going to make one move this week, maximum, and that would be Kulusevski in. I don't quite know who I'm selling, though. I really don't. Like, Havertz was the plan. Havertz was only meant to be a 1 week punt. But if he goes and turns it on against Norwich as well, let's say he gets a brace against Norwich as well, selling him ahead of Newcastle at home after 4 goals in 2 weeks, I don't want to do that. So I could even be forced to rolling the move. Like Weghorst is the one that I could also sell, but there's no one I really want for Weghorst. Knowing I've got about 0.5 in the bank, what 7 million forwards are red hot at the moment with a double game week coverage in the blank? None. Like we want to target Arsenal and Spurs. That I want. So I could even be forced to rolling. If I don't turn Havertz into Kulusevski, I could roll. Now you could say turn Elise into Kulusevski, and that could be done with a 4-point Hicks. I think I'm 0.1 short. But if I have Elise in that Kulusevski in that Elise spot, that means I have to bench someone like Breuer or someone like Rafinha. I don't want to be taking hits to then bench a very good player. So for me, it will be Havertz out to Kulusevski or I end up rolling. I think that they're the only two options, unless some 6.5 forward comes out of nowhere. But Weghorst I probably want to keep because he's owed so many fixtures and I think he scores against Brentford.
It's a really difficult one. My transfer suggestion to you was going to be Luca Dean down to a Spurs defender, but it's the same situation. You're going to have a benching. You're going to have a benching headache. At some, regardless of what you do. So
I don't want to bench Cancelo ever. Like he's too good. His ceiling's too high. And Reece James again, if he looks fit, I don't want to bench Reece. So I'm not willing to waste transfers for benching dilemmas, and I'm facing that a lot. And you will soon as well, I guess, Ted, because we've both recently bench boosted, so our squads are too good in a way. We're going to get these dilemmas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe your focus should be on enabling future transfers. So if you need to make a transfer this week, it should be something focused on that enables you to bring in like a Jamie Vardy, like focus on a Spurs treble up or something like that. Something that could be quite difficult to last minute focus on down the line without taking a -4 or -8. So yeah,
if I roll, I can go to Leicester the week after. So I can sell Havertz to Barnes, and I can sell someone to Luca Dean or Kilman if I don't fancy them to Amati, for example.
Yeah, I think that's decent. And that move probably enables you to have, 3 million in the bank or something, and you can look to upgrade another player to a premium option or whoever.
Maybe I can go Vegos to Vardy in that week as well. Go triple Leicester. I might have just enough.
Definitely worth a check. But yeah, what's your reasoning over Barnes over Maddison, for example? Is it the injury?
Yeah, it is. And Barnes looks back. Like, he was out for a while, and then he didn't hit the ground running off the back of being fit. And Lookman was playing really well, and Albrighton was getting minutes. Barnes looks back to his best, not quite, but he's getting there. I think he offers loads. I think is he better value than Vardy? No, just Vardy edges it, but you've got to spend a lot more to get Vardy. Vardy is overpriced, but still very good. Like, I'd rather see Vardy at 9 million. I think he's probably worth that. He's not. He's double figures. And Barnes is 6.57. It's Barnes for me.
I always get suckered in by Barnes because he always looks lively, and he scores a couple of goals and then he just doesn't do anything. I'm not sure I can go there again. I think I would rather go Maddison personally if he can shake off this injury stuff, because they combine so well, Maddison and Vardy.
They do.
I think it's probably pays to leave it a couple of weeks and see what the situation is. But yeah, we don't need to do it in 30. We could always wait until 32, because I think they play Man United in 31. Although that's not exactly.
That's a good one.
Yeah, potentially. Such terrible sort of press coverage from Man United at the moment, which is a reason why, capitalising, bringing in Spurs assets this week, because they play Man United away, fresh off that loss. Kulusevski looks like a decent pick.
Yep.
Right, let's finish off with my team. I've got a 3-5-2, and I made a special triple captain graphic. A little white captaincy. I would have done it on yours if I'd knew triple captain Salah as well. But have you fully committed to that, by the way?
I'm 90% there.
90%. Okay. Well, yeah. For my team, yes. For the podcast listeners, it's Ramsdale in goal against Leicester and Liverpool. Alexander-Arnold, Saiss, and James. I am very tempted to bring in Robertson this week for Luca Dean, and in order to do that, I would have to enable that with either a Wolves defender down to Amati or Coutinho to Kulusevski for the double. So I will end up making that move, or I could just be chill and just move Digne to Doherty or Davis and be pretty happy that I've got a Spurs player. But it's whether or not I can go without that Robertson double. I think there's a lot of upside to be had in these double game weeks, and Robertson's attacking potential is insane. So very tempted. But yeah, my midfield, I've got triple captain on Salah against Brighton and Arsenal, Son with the Vice, Rafinha against Norwich, Saka in the double, Coutinho against West Ham, inform Coutinho, but he's probably on the chopping block for me in the near few weeks, and then Broya against Watford and Lacazette up there, the assist merchant with the little taps. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Jimenez is on the bench with Cody and Digne, looking to get rid of Jimenez, but it's such a pain, Gianni. Like, he's playing Leeds in 30, and I can see goals in that, but Wolves don't score that many, and he's possibly dropped or rotated. So real dilemma with Jimenez.
If he had been dropped this weekend and Wolves have played really well, I'd be really worried. But that front three of Hwang, Podence and Neto didn't click. And if they had, I'd be selling Jimenez straight away. But knowing they haven't, I think he does come back in. But that is a team that just doesn't look like ever scoring goals, does it? I don't know if Jimenez scores versus Leeds. Like, Leeds look quite good at the defensively against Leicester. They're really unlucky. Jimenez would be a sell for me. But again, if you sell him this week, who you're putting on your bench. Like you can't play two at the back, unfortunately, or your bench size. I really don't like the idea. A few have suggested it to my team in the chat of dropping Breuer against Watford, and you're not going to drop Coutinho who's in form, and you're definitely not dropping Raf. So yeah, you probably just keep your energy on Robertson to get Robbo in or rolling. You want to get Robbo in or you roll, I guess.
So the 4 options I have like planned for the future are either Digne to Doherty and play him in the double, so that solves the Saiss problem, and then Coutinho to like Maddison and Jimenez up to Vardy, and I think nice. one of the Wolves guys drops to Amati as well to enable that. So that's 4 transfers. So it would be like 2 sets of hits, or I could sort of string it out over 3 or 4 game weeks and do it with 3 transfers, or take an extra -4 to get Robertson back in. So I would need to weigh up whether Robertson with an extra fixture is worth the -4 just for 1 game week, because he would immediately go back out for a Wolves defender, for a Spurs defender or a Leicester defender. So lots of options there, but the general plan is to get a lot of Leicester players in from 30. I think Vardy and whoever will be a decent shout, and they've got lots of rearranged fixtures. So at least I've got a plan. That's probably likely to change pretty heavily. But yeah, it seems a lot of people who went down this route of wildcard in 26 will end up with a lot of Spurs, a lot of Arsenal, and a lot of Leicester at some point. So I'll be pretty scared not owning Cancelo, Gianni, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm happy I've still got him. And yesterday, when he nearly scored from that bicycle kick, I was going to be very smug because knowing he's had so many sellers. And I still think he is top 2, top 3 players in this. Okay, top 5 players in the game. He's up there. He's just a gift. So I'm not selling. I don't care if doesn't play in blanks, doesn't have doubles. It's Cancelo. I'm holding him.
I'd be very tempted to have Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, James, and Cancelo as a back 4.
Big at the back is back.
Big at the back.
I had that back 4 not long ago, I think.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we have to deal with all of these blanks and doubles, isn't it? Because it really does influence your decisions. You know, you do question yourself, why on earth do I have loads of Aston Villa and Wolves players? But, you know, it's the strategy I went with. It's delivered this week, and, you know, I can't complain. Fingers crossed for an excellent second half of Game Week 28. And yeah, hopefully your Game Week 29 decisions go your way as well, Gianni. Best of luck with Triple Captain if you do go with it.
Thank you, mate. I'll have my normal team reveal video out for those watching on Wednesday with Az. I don't know what time we'll be streaming, but it's very likely to be on Wednesday. So do check it out then. No doubt I'll have more of an idea of what I'm doing long term. And I'd have watched a few more games by then. I think we'll have Champions League on Tuesday as well to watch. I don't know when Liverpool play actually, but it's Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah,
you've got Spurs tonight, so hopefully that Kulusevski comes through to you and you may be a little bit more confident about bringing him in. I'll keep my eye on Doherty. He's the guy I want, I think, more so than anyone. If he can secure the minutes. So yeah.
Liverpool play Tuesday night.
Nice.
So I'll know if I'm triple captain in Salah on Wednesday stream, guys.
Nice one. Okay, thanks, Gianni, and thanks to everyone joining us in the chat. Best of luck for the rest of your Game Week 28, and yes, best of luck for Game Week 29. Feel free to like the video again after disliking it earlier for Annie, for Gianni's poster. But yeah, thanks all, and we'll see you soon.
See you guys.
See ya.